So, before we start, Father, I just want to give you thanks and praise for allowing us to join together tonight. I thank you for the guests that you've allowed me to connect with on a professional and a friendship level, that we can join together to help other people to grow into their potential, their capacity, their thing, their gift that you've called them to. As we work together, lock hands together, just lifting up one another and just being blessed by our presence here tonight. So thank you so much for allowing us to be here, and we give you praise and honor you in our conversations tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. So, like I said, if this is your first time joining a Made for More session, I usually like to start with whether it's a scripture or a quote, something that I've seen, something just to get the conversation started. And I want to start by saying this: capacity moves in seasons and not in straight lines. And I say that because it took me a long time in my life, millennial speaking, right? I'm a millennial. We've gone through so many things in life, so many seasons, like lifetimes, right? So we've seen so many things. We've always been on the brink of something. We've always been on the transition between one thing to the next. We know what it is to play outside, drink water from the hose, stay outside until the sun went down, get back in the house. And we also know what it is to sit down on the computer and to use a messenger and to be a part of social media age. We've seen all the transitions, right? We know what it is to go from not ever seeing a computer to learning how to use the computer and then teaching other people how to do it. From you have to wait until your friend calls you on the line if they want to talk to you, to knowing how to use cell phones where everything is at your reach all of a sudden. I've used an encyclopedia, right, to do homework and to do research. I've gone to the library to do homework and research. And now today, same me knows what it is to go to Google and ChatGPT and all those things to do research. So we've experienced so many transitions. And what we don't realize, or what it took me a long time to realize, is that capacity changes over time. Our capacity changes. It's not the same, because things that I used to be able to do when I was 19, or I had the energy to do, I can't do that anymore. Things that I had the capacity to do when I was working on a job, say 10 years ago, the schedule, the go get up in the morning, go to work all day, leave work, go and do the next thing, the club, the church, the whatever the special event was, go home, go to bed, stay up all night, doing whatever, talking to whomever, start that again in the morning, and repeat those cycles day in and day out, day in and day out. You can't get me to move at that speed anymore at this stage in life, because so many things happen. Like grief happens, it takes away some of your capacity. Disappointment happens, it takes away some of your capacity. Rejection happens, changes in family dynamics. All those things happen, and those things chip away at your capacity. But sometimes we put the pressure on ourselves to continue at the same capacity, or we put the pressure on ourselves to continue at the capacity that someone else is at. I don't know if you know, but if you speak to people in the mental health world, they will point out some things to you that happened that you didn't know it happened during those years when we were locked down from COVID. Capacity changed. Melvin saying guilty. Capacity changed. And we were told, after everyone was back out in the world doing things, go back to work, get back on your cycles, do things the same way you did it before, live life the way that you lived before. But nobody stopped to say, but recognize that you can't get back up to that same speed again. It's like if you were in the gym and you were going, sticking with your routines, building up your muscle strength. If you stop for a period of time, you cannot go back in the gym a year later, even a month later, and go back at bench pressing at the same weight that you stopped at. You got to build yourself back up to that. And you also have to recognize that maybe I'm not in that weight class anymore, and I can't do that. And so I just wanted to point that out as conversation of the day for you to sit back and to recognize and to realize, as we talk about resetting your capacity and all things related to that, that we're going to get into once Kenneth Miller takes the mic. But Just recognize that capacity moves in seasons and not in straight lines. So just because you had the capacity to do XYZ in January, that does not mean that in June you're going to have that same capacity. And unless you acknowledge that and recognize that and accept that, you will cause damage to yourself. You will cause damage to your momentum. You will cause damage to your motivation. You will cause damage to your goals. So that's what I wanted us to jump in with, talking about today. And we are not going to waste any time tonight because this is a Tuesday. And, you could be doing other things or binge watching something or whatever. But usually what I do is I recommend a resource for you to. You're asking Adelie if it's making you officially delusional. Now, you got to answer that for yourself. You got to answer that for yourself if you're being delusional. All right. But yes, I usually recommend a resource that you could take away from our conversations, that you could jump into after we've finished talking, or connect with me or connect with the person that I bring on as a guest, just to continue just reflecting and soaking in to what we're dealing with. And so the resource I'm presenting to you tonight is by our speaker, my guest, my friend, Kenneth Miller. He's written these incredible books. One you can get for free as a download on his website, and I'm going to put the link in the chat. It's reignitedcandle.com. And also, when you go there, you'll be able to access a book that he has written for people in the career development space, because he's in the career development space. I'm in the business development space. They overlap. It's the same thing, because it's the same people showing up to the table, maybe just doing things from a different perspective. So free download. You can go on his website right now, or when we're done with this conversation, and you can download this free book where he's talking about the in between of dealing with transitions and change. Or you can go on Amazon and you can purchase his book, Reigniting Your Candle. He has a book, he has a journal, and he has a workbook. And he's going to tell you more about that in just a few. So that's it for me. Just chatting, talking. We got to jump in this conversation. I introduce you my friend, my good friend who I don't know how God allowed us to connect in the way that we did, but he has, and I'm grateful for the relationship that we have. And his name is Kenneth A. Miller, and he has a varied background in everything to do from change, human resources, transition. He's a dynamic apostle and preacher. He is one of those people who you want to stay tuned into at some point in time in your life and get connected with. And so I'm happy to have Kenneth Miller on. Hi, Kenneth. How are you?
Well, hello, Shamia, and hello, Momentum Reset family.
Yes.
Mighty God. A pleasant good evening. A pleasant good evening.
Yeah, so you probably trying to figure out where to jump into, right? Because let me tell you, when I bring people on, these are people who I normally have these exact conversations with. Like, we're not usually making up something to talk to people about on the spot. These are conversations that we have day in and day out. And so just so we don't get too carried away and have people sitting in watching us have a conversation that we've already had before, let me just pose the first thing that we want to talk about. Give
Mhm.
me your Give us your definition of capacity.
Capacity, if I could put it simply, Shamia, is what you have to give the world. And I believe that is the most simplistic sense. Capacity, what do I have to give the world? And when you understand the fact that you have something to give, that helps you to preserve it. That helps you to know when to give it and how to give it, how much of it to give. It's almost like a car with a gas gauge. I am not going to drive to West End or go on a cross-country trip if I have a quarter tank of gas. And this quarter tank of gas, if I work for government or I'm running a business, I got a penny pinch, and because January has 1,000 days in it, so I cannot be up and down, up and down. So capacity is what I have to give the world. And when we, as entrepreneurs, experts, leaders, civilians, humans, understand what we have to give, it really helps us to feel better about how we give it and when we give it.
Mm. How and when? Now, I'm gonna try not to be too personal in this. I'm gonna give other people a chance to, interject themselves in this conversation, right? But how and when? How and when? I'm pausing here on how and when because I don't know if it's my generation or I don't know if it's our culture,
Mhm.
but especially if you are of the Christian faith, we get guilted into feeling like you cannot be in control of the how and the when. You have to be
Mhm.
willing to open up yourself, to give all of yourself at all times, to be
And be
all
of
things to
service.
all people, sacrifice yourself, hang yourself on the cross again, takes Jesus's place on the cross all over again, and be the sacrificial lamb for the sake of someone else. And I'm not talking about someone else like your family, your children, the people that depend on you. I'm talking about the world. We Maybe it's me. Maybe it's not a big thing. Maybe it's just me that I feel sometimes like I have to be the all and the be all for everyone while neglecting myself. So you saying how and when is like, yeesh, how
Mhm.
and when I could control that?
You can. And the reality about capacity is that you only have so much of it. See,
Right.
the mistake, Shamir, that we made, the millennials and the Gen Zs, is that we were taught to have this Superman, Superwoman complex.
Mm,
Endure, be a good soldier, pray about it, fast your way through, praise your way through. We use things that are actions to
mm-hmm.
define our response or our stimuli to the situation. And it's almost like this. There's three things that went wrong. Number one, we allowed the fact that we have multiple talents to fool us to think that we have to use all of them all the time in every situation.
Ah,
Okay? That is the first thing that went wrong. Okay? Oh,
mhm.
you could sing? You should be on the praise team. Ah, you also could design fly. I need you in media too. Ah, you could do this. I could put you here as well. And the issue of the matter is, and this is one thing that I practice in my leadership, not because I have the ability to do it means I was anointed to do it. That's the difference. I, Shamir, can sing. You, Shamir, could sing. That doesn't mean we should be the praise and worship leader. That means I could back you up good, or I could sing loud from the congregation and get my prophecy clap on. All right? Don't allow that to fool you, right? Into being bewitched into believing that I have to do that. And let's take it out of church and into an entrepreneur. Okay? Let's say Shamia is a branding expert. But Shamia could do graphic designing with flyers as well. She could create websites too. She could do speaking engagements as well. But is she doing that in every season? No.
Mhm,
Biblically, Christ told him in Matthew chapter 10, I am sending you out to the Jews. Stay in the city of Jerusalem.
mhm.
Now, 18 chapters later, he said, go ye out into all the world, preaching and teaching the gospel. Capacity. The second thing we have to understand about capacity with how and when is we have to understand that our gifts may be unlimited, but they are time sensitive. That's what
Mm,
causes burnout. Because just like you plant a crop, you harvest, the land needs to rest. Not because it can keep producing means that it's healthy. I'm going to say it again. Not because it keeps producing means it's healthy. So the first point is not because I'm anointed means that I have the ability to do it, but really and truly in reverse. Not because I have the ability to do it means I'm anointed to do it. Not because I can means I must. I am not interested in speaking to children every day, even though I can. I could teach up a storm, but I'm not interested. Put me in a boardroom, put me with some adults, I good.
wow.
Second thing is that not because it is available to be done means I should be doing it. And we have to be okay with that. That's the
Wow.
reality, right?
Oh,
You go ahead, Mia.
no, we
I don't
coming
want
out
to.
strong. We're coming out strong because language like this is not taught to us. And I don't know if it's cultural. It could be cultural. It could be because of our age range. It could be because we attach our value to our doing. It could be because of all those things, but we need to talk about it and we need to talk about it in a healthy way. And something you said reminded me of something that I wanted to point out that capacity and availability are not the same thing
No.
because I may, let's say tomorrow, my calendar might be empty. I may not have any meetings, any conversations planned. And so it would look like, oh, she's available. Yes, she's available time wise. But that doesn't mean that I have the capacity to have the conversation you're having.
Mhm.
And sometimes we get that confused that just because I'm available, then that means that I should make every time block on my calendar available to someone else, whether or not I could handle the pressure, the stress, the anxiety, whatever else happens to that. Like I have this thing where, and I learned this from a relative. He used to say, "You get mad at me because I don't answer my phone," right? Like this, my phone. This is the phone that I bought, and you're upset with me because I'm not responding to you at the drop of a dime on my phone,
Mhm.
right? So even with that, that gave me a little freedom and freedom in myself to say, okay, yes, I saw your WhatsApp. Sorry, I didn't answer. The reason I didn't answer was because I couldn't handle other than what I was doing at the moment. And so
Mhm.
I just didn't see it yet because I was waiting till I could deal with it before I open it. It wasn't that I was ignoring you. It wasn't that whatever, but sometimes you got to recognize like, even if I am available, am I available as 911 call? Dispatch,
Mhm.
jump into your rescue for every single thing. Once again, putting yourself on the cross, being the martyr for every single thing.
Mhm.
And so, whew, yeah, we
Now,
start like we said,
Shamia,
we starting out the gate strong. Go ahead.
if I could drop that hinging on what you said, in my book, Reignited Candle, I said something that yucked my whole soul out and put it back in that introspective moment was you're not doing the world a favor by giving them the least best version of yourself to say
Least
that you
best.
actually the least best version of yourself to say you just did it, all right? Or let me put it in my most pristine English. You're doing the world a disservice by not giving them the best version of yourself. And that's my third point in the how and the when. The reality is that you are doing that person a disservice by answering them when you're not at the best version of yourself. You're not saving the world, you're damaging the world. Because the reality is this: you may be able to recover the conversation and help them later, but you could never recover the emotional, mental, and social fatigue you caused by forcing a solution out of you that you are not incubating properly to give the world. So, simply put, don't lay the egg if the egg is not going to be healthy.
Mm,
Not just to say, I put breakfast on your table today. See, I gave you an egg. Oh, I
mm-hmm.
gave you a wonderful egg. Or when I open the egg, it's black
Mm.
because it was not properly incubated.
Adley said the first time he didn't respond to someone's WhatsApp, he got, I guess they let him have it. And after that, he changed the settings. Now, I tell you the truth, I've turned off all my view settings as well because if I accidentally opened the message, didn't see it, and you're saying, oh, how come you didn't respond to my message? Yes, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. You jilted me out of my sleep. I clicked it
Mm-hmm.
so that it could stop going off. And I started also putting my phone on Do Not Disturb. And also, I have some very important people in my life that I've had to mute them because they send messages when they're up 6 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I had to mute them. and then pin them so that I can remember to check them out later in the day. But Melvin had his hand up because I think he wanted to say something. You could go ahead, Melvin, if you want to go ahead and say something.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
Uh,
night.
well, first of all, I want to thank Apostle for this invite. I mean, I excited like this thing. Y'all start this thing off right. Like, oh my God. Um, because it's been real, and I'm quite sure it's not just me. It's been real for a lot of people. And just like you said, going through so many different um seasons, we some of us didn't even realize we were burned out.
Mm-mm.
And you're talking about capacity, and you're talking about I guess let me say, okay, like they say in church, is testimony time. So
Okay.
for me it's like I was always that person going, not sure if you were really producing or being productive, but it's just that you were actually giving yourself to so many different people. And I think it was probably a couple about 2 years ago, somebody asked me a question: Melvin, if you're there for everybody, who's there for you? And I
Mm-hmm.
could not answer that question. I couldn't answer that question. I could not call off one person.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of one of my capacity issues was boundaries.
mm,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any. Just going, doing for everybody. They call, you jump up and go.
right.
Sometimes you would have sacrificed time with your kids because just one call, they need your help. And just like you said earlier, in terms of us being Christians and whatnot, we fall into that trap.
Mm-hmm.
But to the fact that hey, we must do this, but even God rests. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, this I don't know. I When I saw the invite and I was like, hold on, this could be serious. But even how Shamir started off is like this just ignite something different in me. This conversation should have been had like 6 years ago for me.
Ah,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Melvin. I feel like because here's the thing about people like us who are always doing and giving 110% of everything. This doesn't turn off. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And so if that's how you are at church, that's how you are at work.
Mm-hmm.
If that's how you are at work, that's how you are at play. If that's how you are at play, that's how you are when you wake up in the morning. Like we don't switch hats. We don't change who we are at the core. We just change maybe the roles that we play in different people's lives, and it's always gonna be us showing up like this, and it's always gonna be us showing up in a way where once people see that we are available all the time and that they can always tap into our bucket and they can always get something, they're always gonna take. No one's gonna stop and say, "Oh, maybe I should give Melvin a rest today."
Mm-hmm.
Because Melvin isn't giving himself a rest. And also, Melvin is not presenting like someone who needs a rest. That's something I had to recognize with me because I've recently had to take a break from something that I had been doing, going, giving like 100% of, and taking the fall when other people were saying, okay, I'm tired now. I need a break. And I was putting myself in that position and I had to stop and say, you know what? No one knows that you need a break because you have not shown a sign at any point that you need a break.
Mm-hmm.
And for people like us who always go and give and whatever, the first sign that a break is needed happens when we break down. I mean, like,
Mm-hmm.
how did you end up sick again? Why you have this the cold or the sickness, or how did you end up in the hospital? How did you end up on the side of the road, run up on brakes because you didn't give out any signs? And guess what? You cannot blame people for take in if you give in.
Mm-hmm.
You only can blame yourself for not being the one to recognize your boundaries and to set them. And that's another part of the conversation that we're going to be getting into about setting boundaries. So you brought it up early, but the first thing to reset in capacity is to actually define what your capacity is, to know what you could do, and to be honest and real about it, and stop and assess to say, you know what, I thought my capacity was the same as 2023, 2024. I need to sit and assess now to see if I could do all those things again and just reorganize some things in our life. So back to you, Kenneth. What causes burnout? Let's go there.
Well, first and foremost, burnout is when capacity has ran low, and in most cases has come and become depleted. That is the reality of burnout. And burnout, from the sense of reignited candle, is when the person has reached a place where their creativity, productivity, and their personal fulfillment has no longer given them the strength to carry on. So the signs of burnout really is number one, that once innovative, creative individual has no more solutions and ideas. You ask them a question, what you
Mm.
think I should do? Child, I know. Oh Lord. Oh Jesus, have mercy. Hey, hey, hey. Burnout is when that person that will always be available suddenly, not in stages, they abruptly drop everybody.
Mm.
Man, they just drop you. Apostle, we was looking for you to show up to the family party. Boy, I was laying in the bed and my bed held me hostage. I didn't have the capacity to give you the, and I use this in a lack of better term, it should be, we used to say this, the fa-fa and la-la. I don't have the energy to put on a show. Oh, it's so good to see you and your,
You
I
can't
don't have
fake
the
smile
capacity.
no more, right? No
No,
more.
I have it in me. No, I don't care how you're doing. Right now, I don't have it in me. Uh, that's the reality. Burnout, the signs of burnout, lack of innovation, lack of creativity. Also, the person loses the will to resolve conflict. That's how you know
Mm.
you're burnt out.
You stop
Listen,
fighting.
yeah, you slapped me. Well, by doing, slap me again. Punch me, man. That's the reality. I don't have the ability. It's almost like I've lost the will to hold on to this. And let me tell you why burnout is dangerous. Burnout is dangerous because oftentimes we have been trained. I came up in a church realm where if you're not doing enough, you're lazy and you don't love God enough. So burnout actually is misdiagnosed for unwilling to serve with your whole heart. Burnout is misdiagnosed as I don't really care about the vision. Burnout is misdiagnosed as commitment issues, when in reality, there was no reciprocity to pour back into me. So that same car, and I'm challenging everybody, this is your confirmation tonight, service your vehicle. You know it's been 6 months, a year, and a mechanic has not looked at the car, changed the oil. That's why
Mhm.
when you go over the speed bump, it shakes and because you have not lubricated it with fresh oil prophetically to
Mhm.
give yourself another set of distance. And that's what burnout really is. But Shamia, can I touch on the other two little segments quickly before I throw this back in your hand?
All right, go ahead. I don't know if you want to let Adelie jump in here first,
Jump
or
in,
you just want to
Adley.
go. All right.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.
This this had to be God that I'm in here tonight because I didn't see any of your notifications. I've really
Wow.
been busy. I didn't see any of your notifications, and I was sitting here, and it popped up at 7 o'clock on the dot,
Wow.
and I was like, okay, this must be a reason for me to be in, and I jumped in,
Right.
and I can't believe the topic. Because one of the things this is everything that I'm dealing with presently. In fact, for the past year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple things. There's one thing that a lot of us have to realize and accept is the fact that we're not wired the same way as most others.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we're able to find solutions off the fly when people have been searching and paying and doing all these other things, and we're able to, we're solution based people. And what happens with that is because we're solution based people, you find that people continually pull, continually pull, continually pull. I don't even want to have to go do the work no more because I could just call Ricardo. And Ricardo, if he doesn't have it, he'll find it. So now I'm passing off the duties to him. I said to a friend of mine the other day, because he's just like me, I said, when you look at the Fortune 500 companies, they have different floors that do everything, and they pay all those people on those floors. You have the marketing floor, you have the research floor, and all these things. I said, people come to us because we are one of those floors. All those people they paying on those floors to do that work, we do that just between the two of us. And people will come to us for those solutions. But here's the problem. Based on the environment you're in, they don't want to pay you for the solution. What that causes, it makes you frustrated. But once again, like how you touched on the fact that you're Christian, you want to serve, you don't want to say no, you want to do these things, but you're doing it through frustration. And because you're doing it through frustration, it causes you not to want to do it. And
Yeah.
people don't understand that. You just keep pulling, 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 pulling. I'll give you a scenario that with me in church. I love my church, but I sit at the media desk. One thing that most people don't understand is sitting at the media desk, I'm watching what's happening on the pulpit. I'm making sure the apostles have what they need. I'm making sure the speakers have what they need. I'm making sure the camera's on the right person at the right time and all of this other stuff. And I could walk out of church and not have heard a word that was said from the pulpit.
Hmm.
So you have people that serve in church. I consider tithing my gifts back to the church. Okay, but you have people serving in church that ain't getting nothing out of church,
Yeah.
and it's not recognized. And then you have the other situation where people recognize that you're a little more gifted in a certain area, but we're supposed to be working together, but I keep pushing it off on you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Mm-hmm.
what most folks don't realize, these things don't. There's no. This is the first time I've actually been in a place where I could actually vent on this. But you don't even get the chance to reset
Right.
because the weeks go by in 3 days. So by the time as you get through the work week and you've been pulled out all week there, and then you don't get refreshed when you go to church because you're working there too, then how does one reset their life after so many years of doing this?
Right.
That's a real question for me because I got to the point where I had a pastor sit me down, and they said God had you on my mind, and he said that I need you to now look out for you. I need you to put you first in some things. I need you to prioritize your health. I need to prioritize your mind. And I will tell you, it took me a whole year to even begin to figure out how to do that because I felt so guilty pulling myself away from certain things and certain people.
Especially knowing that it has to get done and you know how to get it
Yes,
done.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
This
You're
man,
on vacation and you're wondering, did they get this done and did they get that done? And you're taking messages and this and the next thing. Like I mentioned in the chat earlier, we have to understand that we still have the right to privacy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
sir,
have to constantly check your phone. If I choose to not check my phone for a week and not answer a message, don't get mad at me. I was looking after me, you know. But you have people that will I mean they are vexed.
Right. And I see Melvin is excited to jump in this conversation, but
I
before
was
Melvin talks, I want to
excited.
say that I am so happy that the males are speaking up in this space because we don't usually get to hear from you, right? So I would think that the things that you're talking about, I experience it. I'm a female. I'm more lean towards being on the emotional side and expressing myself. So like you might see a little attitude kick up in me once in a while, but you guys, speaking from the male perspective, we really could take for granted that, hey, y'all going through this and carrying this in this way. And we wonder why men drop dead early age or they go missing. And we like, how come, how are you so good at this and present for this all of a sudden? And all of a sudden now we don't see you in leadership roles and we don't see you doing the things that a man's supposed to do. And that's because we didn't give space to the fact that you actually going through this. Go ahead, Melvin.
Our shoulders are broad,
Hmm.
but weight's still heavy.
Right.
I I don't know. I I was like, this man got me shouting. Like, oh my God. No, but it really is, and I understand exactly what he's saying. And I work in IT and I work in media at the church. IT, we have to be solution based. There's no if, ands, buts about it. They want you, and I've worked in the field for over 12 years. So I went through many stages of IT. And I remember, well, I'm on a new job right now, and I remember during my interview, it made me think the question that was asked when they looked at my resume. He said to me, he said, "Why is your resume all over the place?"
Mm.
And and during the time, my only answer was, "I live in Grand Bahama. If I am not skilled in several areas," and mind you, when he said my resume is all over the place, it's in IT, but it's not focusing on one thing in IT. Whereas the company I'm with now, they have what before time I was working with companies that had 2 persons in IT, 3 persons in IT. Now I'm working with a company that has 21 persons. So which means that I'm now could focus on one area of IT and build. But I said to him that I did that to make myself marketable because oftentimes we go, especially on jobs, we don't normally just get one role. They found out, just like you said earlier, they found out that you can do something else. Hey, that means we don't have to bring nobody else in for this. We just put this on you and don't pay you anything else. But
Mhm.
I listen to me. It's just like you said, we have broad shoulders, but of course there's weight that goes along with those broad shoulders. And some of us actually break down faster than others.
Right.
That doesn't mean that you're weak. It's just that I might have been carrying 10 pounds around for a little while, but he's probably carrying 50. So that break him down faster than it would break down me. And that's really something that we have to consider as males because we always supposed to be the strong one. But I
Right.
think also said it well. There's nothing to being deposited back into us,
Mhm.
pouring out,
Mm.
and they feel like at the end of the day, you're going to be an empty glass at one point.
Yeah.
You continue to pour out, and nothing's being poured back in.
Oh
But
boy.
set up for the rest of this because I have a lot.
Right. And we got a short time
Right.
to get to some of the things we need to
Good
hit on,
nuggets,
but this is
points.
good. You know, it's I find kind of interesting, Kenneth, about this conversation is the fact that the duplicity of roles that you hold, right? Leader on a job, leader in business, and leader in the church. It's like I
It
want you
causes
to
me to
make
be.
sure you hear everything these people saying, and when you go back to your church on the weekend, you start looking around and applying all these things. But I want you to go and jump in on what you was started to say before we let them come in with their contributions.
Well, one of the things that I would mention here is that Adelie, who was just talking about the media outlet, I could personally share a testimony of what I decided to do coming into the new year. And this was my choice. My choice was I am going to listen to another biblically based, grounded preacher once per week, twice per week, Because if I don't get poured back into, I will not be able to lead the people who are pulling at me every day. Not in my own church. I had to go and look outside, get my pour, come back and serve. Because what happens too often, and I'm just saying this as a pastor as well, we don't take into consideration that our leaders are human beings, and in their service, they need to be poured back into. You may be an entrepreneur, you may be a parent. We assume all the children don't have to pay bills, they don't have a stress. No, we cannot assume that the donkey that's been carrying the load all this time will be able to carry the load as well. So the second thing that I've started to implement was at least twice per year, I ask the question, and there are people on this live who could attest to it. If you feel that you are burnt out, weary, tired, or do not have the capacity to give your best, please talk to me so we could give you a break, or if you need to sit down and recuperate, because your soul is more important than your service. Ask Melvin. He'll tell you. I'm not afraid to accept your resignation, because when you backslide and you're up for Christless hell, you can't say, well, I was sitting behind the media booth every week and I was making sure the camera. No, your soul is more important than your service, because at the end of the day, we can't afford to lose you long term. I'd rather you sit down for 3 months, come see me at my office once a week. Let's talk this through and let's navigate it. And I want to throw this out here. Don't be afraid to put up an SOS and ask for help. Sometimes we can't leave it to people to be sensitive to our needs. I'm going to send out an SOS. Pastor, can I see you? Honestly, I've been leading dance ministry. I've danced praise, worship, apostolic. I've dug up the altars. I've chased the witches. I've caused dogs to stand up and give you praise with a woof woof. Right now, if I don't clap my hand and sit in the back row and praise God and seek Him for myself, I will become a reprobate. And that is my honest thing to everyone tonight. Do not be afraid to cry out for help. I could sit in a leadership meeting and tell them straight up, I'm at a place where I am tired, I need a break, and I am, before I'm the pastor of this church, I am a member of this church. And as a member, I need to have a break, because my leadership is hinged on my relationship with God. And this is what brings me to this particular point. We cannot put burnout and survival mode in the same realm. Survival mode is, I have to pay my bills. I have to get this done. And even though I am tired, fatigued, and frustrated, I have to do this because the fulfillment, whether it's money, recognition, or the fact of, hey, I know that the place is better because of it. Survival mode is unction. When we ignore burnout and rely on adrenaline, guilt, and in sometimes manipulation to press beyond the empty tank. So you know that light was on from Arden Forest, and you still trying to drive downtown. You passed every gas station, did not stop for gas because the task was more important than the fuel up. And that is one of the things that we have to be very weary of, whether we are male or female tonight. If you know that you're at a point, stop, refuel, regroup, recuperate, because at the end of the day, they could find somebody else to do what they are asking you to do.
That's true.
They can find it. So if you break down today or tomorrow and the hearse have to come for you, or the ambulance have to come for you, or your friend who you was ignoring all this time have to finally come and pick you up, you might as well stop now before it's irreversible and say, hey, today is the day. In 2 weeks, Pastor, I'm going to train somebody to move the camera, because what Adley doing? He doing 4 people work him one, because he's dedicated. We're going to find 4 people to do this. And at the end of the day, I'm going to take a break. And when I come back, I will have a department to lead rather than me serving during the grunt work.
Hmm. That's tight. You know why? Because bringing it back around to career conversation, right? I have never seen a company shut down because an employee quit or died. Maybe if the head person quit or died, the CEO or the visionaire, and no one was interested in carrying on the work, yes. But I've never seen a company shut down. And the longest they close their doors, if they need to close their doors, is that one day if they let the staff go to your funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And so we keep on putting ourselves in these positions where we feel like we are the one that can make or break the whole ship. And come to find out, you know what, that wasn't even true. I quit that job, or I got sick and couldn't work on that job, or something happened. Uh, something happened, and I had to leave the job, and now it's 4 years later, and they still going. As a matter of fact, right? Like you say, the one person doing four people job. When you leave, they had to get four people to pay to replace you. I've
Mm-hmm.
had that situation where I was in a job. This is the first time ever that, and this was the last time, first and last time, I broke down on people's job. I broke
Mm-hmm.
down, but no one was there. And I'm talking about me having like being part of a staff of like seven, and they all decided that, they all needed to take their break at the same time. So that left me doing my work, their work, everyone else's work. And it got to the point where I had to close the door, locked the door. I saw people walking to the door and didn't answer. I had to turn off the phone, take the phone off the hook. I had to do all those things. And everybody came back like, nothing happened. And that's when I said, you know what, y'all ain't gonna kill me on this job, especially considering with y'all compensating me. It's the same thing you compensating this dude on the side of me, and I'm doing more than he's doing. And
Mm-hmm.
it after I had to make the critical decision to just jump ship and abandon ship, no parachute, no nothing, they still had to call me back a couple of months later and pay me to come in to complete some of the tasks because they was giving. I mean, they were taking, but they weren't taking because they could take. They were taking because I was allowing them to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
somehow got this superhero, like you said, superhero complex that if I don't do it, it's not gonna get done. Like we get there, and because we talk about burnout, we talk about all these things, but because we never talk about capacity, causes the people like us not to sit down and say, what can I give? And the thing about that season as well is the fact that I had an ailing mother at the time. And so when I was more able or willing to do more and to do all those things that led up to that breakdown, I was now at the place where my attention was divided. And I'm like, this thing here and this thing here. My mother is taking precedence over all these things. And so now I don't have it because when I leave here now, I'm going home to someone who needs attention and someone who I'm trying to keep alive. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? So it that was a season where, like I said at the beginning, capacity changes. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, I had the time. Yes, I had the skill. Yes, I had the ability. Yes, I had the formula, but the capacity was not there for that in that season. And it caused me to break down. Caused me to break down in a way that it caught me by surprise. So
Mm-hmm.
actually, before I get to you, I want to let Miller talk about a few more things because we kind of at the mark, but I'll stay on as long as he stays on. No, but we can have to cut at some point. So, Adley, before I get to you, I want him to get into a little bit more about what we need to land on before we get there. Because we talk about what exactly is capacity. We mentioned burnout, we mentioned survival mode, but we actually need to talk about what resetting looks like. Because knowing that you have a problem is one thing. Sitting down diagnosing a problem is one thing. But at the end of the day, what does it even mean? Or what would it even look like for a reset to happen? Because and before you jump into that, I want to say that in terms of the fact that not everybody, whether it's your job, whether it's your ideas, whether it's your business, whether it's your family, whether it's your church, whatever it is, like I said, we are the same people showing up to those things. For some of us, we don't have the luxury to reset by sitting down or stopping. You don't have the luxury. If your job is stressing you out right now, because we talk about, career resentment, and I want you to get into that at some point before we leave tonight. But not everybody has the luxury, like the vacation time. You work in a hospital, you don't have the luxury to go take 3 months off and come back and decide if you want to. You don't have the ability to just maybe abandon your post at church if that's what you want to do. Whatever it is. So I want you to talk about what resetting looks like in realistically, real terms, not idealistically.
Well, Shamia, realistically, resetting looks like 3 basic questions on which I outlined in Reignited Candle. That's reigniting your candle as well. The first question that I would ask you, and you could write this down and answer them as you go, that what brings me the most fulfillment? Joy, excitement. When I do it, I'm excited to do it, and when I'm finished doing it, I feel good. In terms of career, in terms of business, in terms of church. And then ask yourself, what brings you the least amount of fulfillment? When I do it only because I have to do it. I do it because ain't nobody else want to do it and I'm the best choice to do it. When I do it because I'm just smart like that. And I'm the only member available or the only employee here, right? What gives me the least fulfillment? And the reason why that question is important, because that's when you start the cutting process and the boundary establishment. Like, for example, I am an author of 21 books. And let me give you an example of how capacity over time changes and how we have to now adapt and establish boundaries. Number one, when I first started writing books in 2019, I could sit down for 8 hours a day and write a book in 3 days, publish it in the following 4 days. I could have done that. By the time I reached the book 8 and 9, my bandwidth for sitting that amount of hours changed. So now I had to switch to 4 a.m. in the morning to write when I'm at my fresh. And by 6 a.m., I'm burnt out. I can't write anymore. To now, I cannot sit down and write at the thing. I have to use speech to text because when I talk, I produce more than I type. The least fulfilling part of book writing right now is sitting in front of a device and writing. So now I use speech to text. That's more fulfilling. I could talk, I could hear myself, I could add little notations, my brain flows better. For you, it may be, I have the ability to cook, clean, and groom animals. The least fulfilling thing is grooming animals. But my most fulfilling thing may be cooking. So if I'm going to do a business, I'm going to cook. I'm not going to groom animals. Not because I have the ability to, means I want to. The second question you want to ask yourself is, when was the last time I invested in myself? What can I invest in now? My mother told me something as a young lad, and I've applied it in several of my books. And one of those principles is don't sit up on a person's job and don't invest in yourself. They could take that job back from you, but they cannot take your investment back from you. So now every job, I could tell you, I could go back at least 3 or 4 jobs. This job I'm on now, I'm finishing a bachelor's degree. The job before that, an associate's and a certification. The job before that, 5 certifications. So when I leave you, I leave fulfilled. Your giving me of money for my service brought you joy. But the fulfillment I experienced was educational advancement. So now there's reciprocity. Investment is like lubrication to an engine. So listen, find a hobby. Why are you sitting here on these people's job for 6 days of the week and do nothing for you? Whether it's educational, whether it's personal, go on a date. God has given you permission tonight. Go on a date. Go out there, invest in that vehicle so you don't have to walk everywhere. or read a book. When last have you done what you enjoy doing? Some of us don't even know what outside looks like. Go outside.
I feel like that's personal attack
No,
on.
no, 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 that, no, man. I
No,
ain't throwing no shade. Oh
hey,
God.
hey, you don't even know. You
We,
don't even know that's a problem I have.
because people trap. See, I didn't throw that out there for you. Like for example, when I started to do content, Shamia and friends, because I view all of us as friends here tonight. I did something that I would have normally cringed at, but I did it for me. I went outside under the tree and let the wind blow on me, and the animals and the birds and the buzzing. It was abnormal, but it was surreal. I did something different. And the third question, because when you invest in yourself, then what you're doing makes sense to you because now I'm getting something in return. Not just a feeling of euphoria and excitement, but now when I walk away from here, I have something. While I am here, I'm doing something personal. At least you could look at your Birkin bag and say, hey, those times those customers and I had World War III, I have bags that I could resell and get some money. I have an investment. And the third question that you want to ask yourself is, am I the same person that I was when I entered into this agreement? If not, what have I learned that I could use in another way? Okay? I am not the same person that entered into pastoring 11 years ago. I am not the same. I I could tell you I'm not as peoply as I used to be, meaning that I'll be up at every function everywhere. I have to select where I go now because I don't have the capacity. I could have preached 7 services in a week. I could do a good 3. After 3 is Holy Ghost power on turbo. Okay? I'm going to be honest. I don't have the capacity, right? There was a time that I could have sit down and prophesy to 30 people and counsel 10 people in a day. I could do 3. Okay? After 3, I don't have any more to give. Okay? And I'm not afraid to say no, right? I'm not. So what can I do now? Okay. I know that when I set my appointment, I only could take 3 for the day, so I'm going to prioritize. And this is how you start to reset. Okay, you reset by prioritizing what meets your criteria. As a pastor, if you have your own pastor, I am not going to run to your aid. I'm going to run to the aid of somebody who is unchurched or does not or is a member of my church. Why? Because by virtue of relationship, you have somebody you could talk to. They don't. So if I'm going to pour, I want to pour into those that do not have the ability. In business, is this customer worth the money that they're going to give? I already see that you're diabolical from the door. From you start messaging me at 5 a.m., that means you don't know what sleep looks like. The $500 not going to be worth it. I can be honest. You're
You already
messaging
proven
me when
yourself
you,
to be a problem. You showing
okay,
me who you are and how you operate.
yes, stop ignoring the signs. The red flag, wee, down the roller coaster, wee, stop ignoring the signs. You could see that they're users.
Mhm.
My God, I have to get it off my chest. You're a user. Okay, from you sit there and let me do all that work, knowing that 4 other people said they were interested. You're a user. So from now on, listen to me. We can create a schedule, and sometimes you need to push that envelope. All right. I am not available this Sunday. I have to attend to something else. Can we find somebody else? Push the envelope. Okay. Make sure that you understand that you're not the same person anymore and it's okay. Now that you're not the same person anymore, you need to do an inventory check. What do I have that I can give regularly? What do I have to give in doses? And am I prepared to give it to you?
Am I prepared to give it to you?
And the answer is no. No, I am not prepared to give it to you. No, you take too much. You know you that's a buffet and you take 3 plate of food knowing that 10 people have to eat. No. No. And this is how we begin the resetting process. That systematically, if it doesn't bring me fulfillment, it's a no.
Right.
Right? I could teach students, but I can't take that after 2 years, so it's a no.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If I'm desperate, yeah. If I'm not desperate, no. All right. The second thing is, what am I getting out of this? Because we are trying to say, just give it to the Lord and He will bless you. You shouldn't look for anything in return. Now, listen, we're in business. I need l'argent, euro, dinero. Okay. I
An
need
amount that
yen.
match that match the stress you can put me under.
Thanks. It need to make it make sense, right? I need to get reciprocity because one of the things that I have to do in our church was send the praise and worship leader to a conference because I saw that she was on a tangent, and to build her and strengthen her, go to this conference with the people that you don't know who could pour into you. And when she came back, her worship was different. We paid for the conference. Go have a good time. Because when you do that, she walked away saying, I have a certificate to say that did this. And the third thing that you want to do is prioritize who you give what and understand that you're not the same person anymore. So please, I'm not going to attempt to do what I did when I was 20. I'm now 31. I don't have the capacity to do it anymore. And I don't need to feel guilty. I
Mm-hmm.
don't need to feel like a wash up. I don't need to feel like I've failed everybody. No, I am doing what is best to preserve me for another 30 years so you can have something to get rather than if I dead and you get nothing.
Mm.
So, Shamia, you go on ahead. I think I talk plenty. I don't want to dominate the call.
I saw Suzanne unmuted. I don't know if she had something to say, but Audrey, I coming to you. I coming to you right now so you can get your piece in there that you wanted to say. But Suzanne, did you wanted to say something? Did you want to say something?
No, ma'am. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. All right, Adelie, go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
I once again I have to say thank you. Once again, I have to say thank you. Um, you know, I am 54 now, and my mind hasn't caught up with that yet because I have to remind myself of my age very often because I'm still in the mode of doing things that I would do the way I would do it at 30.
Mhm.
And I keep saying that God allowed me to be slowed down for the past year because I've been on crutches for the past year. But what I've been able to do while I was on crutches, I've never done without any setbacks. I remember sitting down one day and I looked at my back porch. It was just a slab. And I said, I want a patio. I want a place that I could come out here and hang out and what's not. And I built furniture. I built an outdoor kitchen and all that stuff. Never lifted a saw in my life. Okay.
Mhm.
But what that brings me to is we need to truthfully have faith in the word. The word tells us that our gifts will make room for us, not your training and the thing that you're doing just because you need to make money. And a lot of us have been guided into our uh, jobs and what's not by parents who wanted to see a lawyer in the family or a doctor in the family or what's not. And you have a lot of miserable doctors and lawyers and all these other people that are totally unfulfilled based on the fact that they chose to do what they were told to do. And it
Mm-hmm.
gets worse from there because then we end up bound to certain things that we shouldn't be bound to. And now we call them commitments
Mm-hmm.
because you were told to go. The most common thing we're told, go to the bank, establish a credit, get one little $1,500 loan so you can establish credit with the bank, what's not. Make sure get yourself a car, herb, get yourself a house, and what's not. And nobody tells us that I'm gonna pay 4 times what the house costs. Nobody tells you that the $20,000 car is gonna cost you 28 after you finish paying for it. And the thing is, yes, the payments might not be a big thing, but how much of your time was put into the interest that you gave? And we
And Adelie, sorry to interrupt you. And no one told you that that same job that you didn't like, you have to commit to that for 30 years so that you could keep that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but here's the thing. I my company um protects a lot of the repossessed homes for the banks. I've had the chance to talk to some of those people that lost their homes.
Mm,
I've yet to find somebody who regrets it. I've yet
Wow.
to speak to one person who regrets losing their home. The anxiety of losing the home because of what people will think was the biggest problem. But as soon
mhm,
as they got over that hurdle or the house was about to be taken away and nobody came to the rescue, that was an easy one to get over. But then they got to reset because now
Mm-hmm.
I can make the decisions based on I can make the decisions 2020 away from the bad decisions I made the first time.
mhm.
So we have to be confident in our gifts and start developing them because one of the things I always ask people, what is your gift? I rarely find somebody that can answer that without having to sit down and think for 15 minutes.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So this type of conversation, whew, this recording you said, right?
Yes, 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 it's recorded.
Thank you very much because I need to share this with the rest of my family. Thank you very much.
Oh boy. So
I'm
let's
happy to
get
hear that.
into this to slide now and wrapping this up, wrapping the conversation up because um we covered all sorts of different facets of life, right? And like I said at the beginning, this platform made for more is to help people to step into their calling, help people to step into their purpose and not in a frivolous way, not in a vanity way, because there are so many people out there that have has the missing puzzle of someone else's future and they're sitting on it, they're holding it. They have it in their hand like, hey, I have this key. I know that this key is something that people need, but I don't know that I'm qualified or whatever to offer this key. And so they sit back on things. And also there's a people that, because they have so many things clouding their lives, filling up their time, filling up their capacity, things that are seeming to be like 911, I have to do this today, right now, filling up their capacity, that this thing that they was put on the earth for is the one that's always taking a back seat, right? So before we could get into the rest of the conversations this year about this is where you start, this is how you plan, this is how you set your goals, this is how you meet your goals, this is how you find out what's the thing that you've been called to do, this is how you pick the business idea, something that's useful for you and beneficial to you. Before we talk about that, we need to talk about the fact that you have to make space to get those things done. Because I'm talking to people all the time. I love hearing people's stories. So I make myself available to hear stories all the time. And I would hear a person who said, I just feel like God called me to do this thing. Or I had this business idea and I've seen no one else do it. And it's like this knockout solution that the world hasn't seen yet, or this side of the world hasn't seen yet. And I want to be able to do this thing, but I have to wait. I have to wait until my job gives me the time to do it. I have to wait till the kids get older. I have to wait until something magically happens and makes room for me to get it done, which in that never happens, right? And so that thing that you know that was is gonna bring you joy and it's gonna bring you fulfillment because you don't prioritize it. You keep on putting it on the back burner, like, this ain't a make or break situation today, so it's nothing critical. Like, there's no deadlines attached to this, so I'll push that off. Yes, I was going to launch my book. Yes, I was going to sit down and spend the time to write my book, find my writing style. Yeah, the book's been sitting in your Google Docs or your Microsoft Word incomplete for the last 5 years, 10 years, because you didn't take the time to sit because you were doing so much things. And that's the reason why we need to talk about identifying and resetting your capacity so you could get those things done. Like, just because you haven't done it doesn't mean that God is going to excuse you from getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why this conversation was just so important to me, because as I speak to people now moving forward for the rest of the year on how do we actually get the work done, we need to make sure that you are capable, make sure that you have the capacity to do it, because the example of the car, right? You have this expensive car. Uh, you know the car is important to your life. It's taking your family around. It's getting you where you need to go. It's the key driver. But because you keep on ignoring the warning signs that you need to actually get this car checked out, get this car maintained, you just keep driving and then all of a sudden you don't have a car. And when you don't have a car now, so many things are falling apart in your life because you don't have a car. Because people who have cars, no, let me say this, people who don't have cars, they always know how to get where they need to go. But people who used to having a car, when the car go down, they don't know how to get around anymore. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I was giving people rides all up and down, all over the place, and now I need a ride and I don't know who to call. Call the person who you was given a ride to last month. No, they sorry, I'm unavailable. That's out of my way. Yeah, I was going out of my way to get you around too. But that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. I'm not gonna say that because I didn't do it for you for to be able to come back and claim I did for you, now you did for me. No, that's not why I did it. But like Melvin had said earlier, after you've looked out for everyone else, who looks out for you? Who's making sure that you are fulfilled? Who's making sure that you are stepping into your purpose and your calling? The answer is it has to be you. Sitting back waiting for someone to make up their mind that they're going to now allow you to step into your calling and your purpose, that's not going to happen. So if you don't recognize your capacity, rearrange some things, shift your life in a way where you could actually say, okay, I have 1 hour a week, 1 hour a day, I'm going to intentionally dedicate to doing starting my business, to planning out my business, to researching it, to writing my book, to starting my nonprofit organization, my charity that I want to lead, to being able to be available in ministry to give back, to do whatever. If you don't set that time aside, no one's going to set that time aside for you. No one's going to set that time aside for you. And so that's why we really needed to stop and talk about what does resetting look like? Now that things have changed, what does that look like for you in your life? How are you going to move forward from this conversation to actually being able to come back and say, here's what I was able to do because I recognized my capacity and I changed. Because a lot of us right now in this, age gap range that we're talking about, we on our second life, right? Yeah, that's the time when you start to wonder, did I take the right career path?
Mm-hmm.
Is it time for me to go back to school?
Or was it
Or
worth it?
was it worth it? Do I want to do this for the next 15 years? Or am I changing? Or is it time to change now? Because we are at the point now where like you got to start making some decisions, like or taking advantage of the opportunities that you have. That now is a good time to shift. If you're gonna shift, shift now. If you're gonna stay, stay now. And however that looks, you need to invest in whatever that next thing is. Invest in staying or invest in shifting, but invest in you. Give yourself permission to be what you were called to be. Give yourself permission to step out there. And here's another thing that I realized that happened with people being in this second life stage as well is that we are looking and considering options based on the same thing that we did back then, like almost are ready to fall in the same trap. I
Mm-hmm.
am now going to switch careers because I'm tired of this one. And I want you to touch on what career resentment is before we sign off. Um, and also land on anything you want to point out in your book that people would find helpful, that they could go ahead and buy the book, actually buy the book and do the work and get moving from here, right? We're not just talking anymore, we're moving forward. But I want you, I I want us to recognize that sometimes because we have not dealt with what was the underlying reason for why we are at this point today where reset is necessary, we go make the change based on the same principles. So now it's like, okay, I think I used to work in tech, but I've always wanted to work in design. So let me go find people who need design and give that to them. And then you approach it not from the fact that design is something that's going to bring you fulfillment, but because design is something that I could do that people need. And I'm still putting myself there as the be all end all answer solution to someone else's problem. instead of thinking about what you said about what brings you fulfillment, the least and the most, where I need to invest in myself. And am I the same person as when I started?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was a lot. I said some things there that probably has some people thinking now, like, yeah, I did want to start that business in design, but I actually don't like. That's something I realized for me. Let me use myself as an example. When I started my business in 2019, that was after my mother passed away. Well, actually, I started planning and registering the business before she passed away. So she passed away right after I got my license. And design was something that I realized I could do, but I hated doing it because I don't like doing design that where people are dictating how to design, if I could put it like that. It's more of like a
Mm-hmm.
passion thing than a thing that I want to do for money because I don't want you to think I'm Burger King and you could just ask me to do things that don't make sense and then I have to do it all the time. So it's something that I don't like to do. So, but I did start my business off offering design because that was something that I could do. And it took me a long time to realize when someone pointed out to me in a like you said, with sending your worship leader off to a training amongst people she didn't know, I was in a group with people I didn't know, I'd never met. So I was free to be myself. And the leader of the group said the term, when she said, some of you don't like your clients. And I was like, I don't think I like my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to start
Mm-hmm.
shifting like, is this really what you want to build your reputation and your business and your brand about? Where people come to you for this thing, but you don't actually like to do it and you don't like the people that you're serving and you don't have a care for the problem that you're solving. And I had to make a decision. No, this is what I like to do. This is the outcome I like. This is what I'm going to go and now position myself to be the solution for because I want to, because I feel like it's something that's personal to me that brings me joy and fulfillment and it ties into my purpose. And so that's how I ended up in this space where I coach, where I help people develop professionally, where I help them to look deeper into, the ins and the outs and the whys and the knots about what it is that they do so that they could actually get it done. That's how I ended up here today. But it took that kind of introspection to happen for me to get to this point. So I talked a lot. Um, Chime in just right quick on career, your definition of career resentment and how your book Reigniting Your Candle is going to help people who find themselves in that position. And before you start, I want to say that whether you are in a career, staying on a paid job, looking to start a new job, looking to start a business, looking to start a project or whatever, it's all the same. The principles are the same. So no matter where you are, the principle itself works for you. All right, go ahead.
So we in Reignited Candle would call that career fatigue. And it's broken into three categories. Burnout will be discussed, survival mode, which we discussed. But the final element came through personal introspection as I wrote the book. And I realized something about myself. I love teaching, but I hated dealing with the administration and I hated dealing with the parents. Oh my God, I could teach up a storm, but those staff meetings were sickening. The professional days were annoying, and the parents didn't know their arm from their leg. And what happened was, I arrived to a place of listen, I will teach, but I need to overcome denial.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot teach in a high school environment. I cannot teach in a regular environment anymore. And after overcoming denial, I then found myself and realized I resented my career. I resented being a teacher, not because I didn't love my job, not because I didn't love my career or I didn't love what I do. I resented the noise, the elements, and the environment that my career brought with it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like I like Shamia, but I don't like her friends. And whenever Shamia comes around, she brings her friends. So I subtly start developing a level of disdain for Shamia, not realizing it isn't her, it's the attachments to her. And that's what career resentment is. Career resentment is when I start to dislike the thing that brings me fulfillment, that I invested in myself for, that I love doing, but this is the difference. I am no longer who I was when I entered this field. My attitude, my aptitude, my tolerance has now changed. And with it now, I need to find myself again. I need to realize that I have different skills. So when I started as a novice teacher, I had to do things like this. Now, as an experienced teacher, I use AI, technology. My lessons are different, more immersive. So my tolerance level for ignorance is not the same. So in doing that, I have to make the big pivot. And the big pivot is that now I can't teach in a classroom, but I don't mind getting them when they've already graduated. So I will teach post-secondary, young adults, college level. I have the same excitement and zeal there. I'm excited, and I don't have the quaky parents and the shifty administration and all the other nuances. So I get to enjoy my career, but I had to pivot. So I had to do a skills inventory. I had to do a heart check. I needed to get my personal brand together and shift into an area where I could be who I am today, still getting the fulfillment and using my investments and getting that reciprocity. And it leads me to, after this big move, I go through a period of settling. And that settling is this: do not mistake when you make a pivot that you need to rush into anything else. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy that moment. Because now, guys, after I came out the classroom, and I started teaching young adults and started teaching them after they got out of school and teach doing adult learning. I realized, oh, I'm not a high school teacher. I'm an adult learning teacher. That is the pivot I made in my career. But that wasn't it. I realized that I love teaching adults and I love dealing with their careers too. So not only did I pivot, I found a new variation of my capacity. Everything in me that was pinging from the burnout and the survival mode and the career resentment was saying, hey, Kenneth, you really want to help people with their careers. You just don't want to teach them. You want to guide them into proper employment that matches their identity. And by the way, everybody, everything I just said to you was chapter by chapter of reigniting your candle. That's exactly what the book is. And that's how it helps you. And it gave birth to Reignited Candle Group, where I do this career coaching. So at the end of the day, this is a proven strategy. You don't hate what you do. You just need to change how you do it, and when you do it, and who you do it
And
with.
who you do it with and who you do it for.
And that's how you overcome career resentment.
And it's amazing how you sum that up in a way that resonates with so many different people, because even how you explain that now, I'm able to reassess how I approach my ministry engagements, how I approach my business engagements, because I've had to make pivots in my business as well. But sometimes because I was starting to be resentful, because of the things that I didn't like, the system changes that I didn't like, it made me at times say, maybe I need to completely switch into a different topic. But every time I start looking at, okay, start a different business in a different area, launch another one of your multiple business ideas, and I start to think about it, I always end up back at the same point. I need to help people to get their ideas off the ground. I always end up circling back at that. And so in pivoting now, it, like you said, pivoting was a matter of how I do it, how I show up, and who I show up for. So certain things that I had to realize that I don't care for. Like I offer personal coaching, but I'm selective now in who I offer it to. Everyone can't get personal one-on-one time, and I don't care how much you're willing to pay me for it. And
Mhm.
I realized that I like group conversations, the interactivity of having group meetings and group conversations like these, where we could get everyone participating in the conversation and sharing their experiences, where people are not looking at me as the one person with all the answers, because while I have a lot of answers, you have answers as well from your experiences
Mhm.
that people could tap into. So there are people on this call tonight that they more resonated with things I said, and there are people that more resonated with things that you said. And that's the type of collaborative environment that I like, where everyone could come in the room in the buffet and go to the section of the buffet that gives them what they need. And they walk away saying, you know what, I think I know what I need to do now. I have a little bit more clarity. Or, yes, this was Shamia's broadcast tonight, but I'm going to reach out to Kenneth because he's going to help me to get to this next season at this next time. And I'll come back to Shamia later to help me polish it, you know? And so I am so grateful that you accepted my invitation to be here tonight. And I'm hoping and praying and believing that everyone that's on the call and everyone that's gonna tap into the replay, that they're gonna be able to get something to set them up for sustainability, for being able to live a whole life as we move forward in the rest of the year, where we could be honest, where we could settle in, where we don't feel like, oh, it's January, I have to hit these goals today because it's January. And if I don't start now, then I won't do anything. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. Every day that you live is a chance to keep on doing something else and to keep on growing and walking into the fulfillment of the fullness of your purpose. And so, yes, this is January. Take the pressure off yourself. If you have not already won a Nobel Peace Prize or got nominated for it, take the pressure off.
And don't have a tantrum if you don't get it.
Don't have a tantrum if you get it. Take the pressure off yourself if today, January, you did not get your master's degree. Give yourself time to settle into who you are and what you're doing and how you want to grow and be, and give yourself a chance to get to know this new version of yourself at this new capacity, at this new pace. Kynetta, so happy to have you here. You said you part two? Oh boy, that's pressure. Now we had to get this one out because Kenneth is not available on Tuesdays normally. This was a divine setup that at the last minute I said, hey, could you? And he said, yes, catch me now. Because next week is a whole different situation, And so always willing to have these types of conversations with people one-on-one. If you don't know, you can follow me at borderlesscreativegroup.com. I'm going to type that in the chat as well for ways that you could get in touch with me. I do offer free 15-minute sessions for people who are still trying to figure out exactly where they need to start to get to their next step. So that's if you are already in the building process of your brand and maybe you need to find out what your next steps are for your next level. That's where it's starting, pivoting, growing, whatever. I have those types of conversations, and you could book a free 15-minute call with me. But also, one last thing I want to mention, I put the link in the chat a few times for how you could get Kenneth's free book as well as his paid book. And I see Adelie said he already went and ordered it, and I knew he would.
Congratulations, but
That's the type of person he is. If it's beneficial to him, he's not going to sit on it, and he's going to make sure other people knows as well. So he's already went and he got his book. Kynetta said she needs the book. Yes, she does. Do you have any copies available on the island here in Freeport?
Well, they are going to be here the early part of February.
Okay, so if you have Amazon Prime, you probably could get that faster in your hand. Or if you just want to wait till you can get your signed copy from him, you could reach out to him. However you need to get it, get it. It doesn't matter. By boat, by train, by plane, by automobile. Make sure you get your copy of the book. Last thing,
and your journal.
And the journal. The workbook, the book, the workbook, and the journal. And if you need that one-on-one private coaching session that he offers, go ahead and book that session with him and make that your investment in yourself for this year. Because maybe you are in a position to invest more than $12, $15 for a book, and you can invest in a one-on-one. Go ahead and invest in those one-on-ones, and whatever the mind asks for, pay it, because you can't get this stuff for free and expect to get results. And that's not saying he wouldn't give it to you for free, but he's not, because this is business. This is not personal. Pay people what you value yourself. If you value yourself, then pay people what you value yourself. Right. All right. So last thing I want to mention, I have a community that I'm launching very soon. It's called Momentum Builders Alliance. It is a community and a space for like-minded people to be able to uh, just get access to experts, resources, planning, a space to make mistakes, a space to get advice. And it's a monthly membership. The application process is $50 to apply, and then it's $50 a month after that. For those people that sign up now at the beginning while we are just launching it, you get to lock in a rate of $35 per month for your first, yes, for your first year. And yes, there's a fee. Yes, there's an application process. And the application process is simply to make sure that the people who come into our group honors the space, does not try to steal ideas from people, all those different things. We're honoring our space and we're allowing ourselves to have access to people and resources that you probably aren't yet ready to invest in or that you need to test out before you invest in them. But this is a growing season, this is a growing year, and we are doing what we need to do to grow. So you can learn more about that at the link that I just put in the chat. This Momentum Builders Alliance. But at any point in time that you want to get in contact with me, you could find me anywhere. You can find me on my website at borderlesscreativegroup.com. You can find me on socials at theshamiawilliams.com. I mean, the Shamia Williams. That's on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and all those things. And yes, Kenneth A has joined. I'm so excited. We making things happen this year because we don't play around. We don't just talk about it. We be about it. So, Kenneth, any closing words, or you just finished? You good? Because you said a lot that has a lot of us spinning in our minds now, thinking, how do I, how do I take advantage of what was given here tonight? Maybe you have some closing words. If not, you'll be
My
some.
only encouragement right now, Shamia, to everyone is that it makes no sense to hear the truth and do not apply it.
Mm,
So take it, run with it, and let it be your personal investment into yourself.
amen. Let the church say amen.
Amen.
All right, so I usually stay on afterwards for anybody who wants to chat for a few seconds. But if you don't want to chat, sign off. We'll see you next time on Made for More. Bye. All right. All right.
Once
All right.
again, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.